Y así empieza, qué buena manera de empezar. El Es Esto, la fábrica del día de la fecha. Sección en donde repensamos, reanalizamos, volvemos a redefinir todo lo que tiene que ver con la industria de la música. Una industria que hace un puñadito de años nada más precisaba de barcos, de aviones, de containers que distribuyan de un lado al otro todo lo que tenga que ver con el arte, ¿no? Desde películas hasta films, hasta, bueno, lo mismo, hasta fotografías, hasta cuadros, sin ni hablar de la música. De todas esas cosas vamos a estar hablando en esta sección y para eso nos vamos a nutrir de diferentes diálogos. Siempre hablamos con productores, organizadores de festivales y obviamente con muchos músicos. Un actor estaría bueno traer acá un día, Raúl, algún actor así para hablar de todo ese mundo. Obvio que hay en la lista. Y de todas esas cosas vamos a estar hablando en esta sección. Estamos esperando a Kate Ellis, excelente artista que acabamos de escuchar, Heart, hecho por ella. Esta canción que, si no me recuerdo mal, es de Nine Inch Nails originalmente. Y bueno, ha hecho conocida también Johnny Cash y también toda esa parte oscura de Nails, con toda esa cosa bien sureña de los Estados Unidos, de donde proviene Kate. Y le vamos a preguntar, obviamente, queremos hablar un poco, sobre todo de la figura, si nos da el tiempo y todo, de Hank Williams, que es como una especie de Atahualpa Yupanqui de ellos, una especie de la piedra fundamental, ¿no? De mucha parte de la cultura country, que tanto le gusta a Raúl y que tanto nos gusta acá en Careta Radio, pero que a su vez no es tan conocido como lo son los otros próceres de Estados Unidos de la música, que me puedo cansar de hablar. Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Jay Brown, si querés, y tantos artistas que han hecho tan rica, y permítanme de la redundancia, cultura musical norteamericana, que bueno, acá basta escuchar cualquiera de nuestras entrevistas con gente de Japón, de Israel, de Taiwán, de Reino Unido, de cualquier parte del planeta, que nos nombran siempre, nos tiran artistas norteamericanos por la cabeza. Y a mí siempre me llamó la atención que Hank Williams, inclusive los Stones, fanas de él y han hecho, siempre lo han reconocido, no sea tan conocido. Bueno, ahora sí, está Kate Ellis con nosotros, no sé si nos escucha bien, en este momento está muteada, pero bueno, Raúl, arrancamos con la entrevista, si te parece bien, ya empezamos.
Perfecto. Kate, can you listen to us?
Hi, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect.
Great.
Thanks for your time, Kate.
Oh, lovely to be here.
Okay, we are going to start with the interview. Please tell us your full name and where are you from?
It's Kate Ellis, and I was born in Louisiana. I then moved to New York, grew up in Manhattan, and now live in London.
Okay, I'm going to make a little translation for the Spanish listeners, okay? Bueno, le pregunté de su nombre, que es Kate Ellis, y de dónde es. Ella nació en Luisiana, después se fue a Nueva York y está viviendo ahora en Londres. And Kate, which is your first memory of you listening to music?
Well, music was always around when I was growing up. I mean, my parents loved classical music. They listened to a lot of classical music. But my father, who's from Louisiana, also had all these great vinyl records of like Bob Dylan and Paul Simon and Johnny Cash, and so I would sort of listen to those myself, and I sort of grew to love that sound, and that's kind of was sort of where I got that, the southern rootsy sound from the beginning, as a child. Yeah.
Ok, bueno, le pregunté cuál es su primer recuerdo escuchando música y lo que nos decía que la familia tenía un montón de música clásica, pero su padre también, que era de Luisiana, tenía muchos discos vinilos de, por ejemplo, Johnny Cash, de Bob Dylan, y eso es con la música que ella creció, y aparte ella iba escuchando los vinilos de su padre, bueno, que la influenciaron mucho. And can you tell us which is your first instrument, which was your first instrument, and which was the first song that you learned?
Well, my first instrument was actually piano when I was young, but I did classical piano, so I then didn't carry that on when I grew up. And then I actually went into law and was a lawyer for a few years, and then decided that wasn't for me. And so I then just tried different jobs, but in the meantime I thought I'll take a guitar class because that would be really fun. And it sort of, the writing kind of surprised me, but it was definitely, guitar was the first instrument that I started writing on. And I think the first song I learned, I can't tell you exactly, but I think it was probably a Lucinda Williams song.
Nice. Bueno, le pregunté cuál fue su primer instrumento y cuál fue la primera canción que aprendió, y ella nos contaba que su primer instrumento fue el piano. Después ella empezó en la universidad en leyes, o sea, estudió para ser abogada, y dice, bueno, empezó a buscar algunos trabajos, pero dice que ella, no era definitivamente para ella eso, y empezó a tomar clases de guitarra. Bueno, se sorprendió que ella realmente su instrumento sea la guitarra, era lo que a ella le gustaba, bueno, empezó a tocar, a hacer canciones con la guitarra, y las primeras canciones fueron, bueno, de música más country. And Kate, how was the first time that you play in public?
Well, so when I started writing songs, I lived in New York City, in the East Village, and there's a lovely music scene in the East Village, downtown. And, I just started doing open mics, and then I did little gigs, and so it was just sort of that whole music scene there was great.
Wow. And the first time, where it was on a bar, on a small place in New York?
I'm trying to remember. There was a great place called The Living Room in the East Village, and that was some of my earlier gigs. There's St. Mark's Street, which has a lot of little bars, and I can't remember the exact venue, but it was definitely like in that music scene, yeah.
Okay. Bueno, le pregunté por la primera vez que ella empezó a tocar en público, y nos contaba que ella estaba viviendo en New York, en el East Village, y había un lugar, había una escena musical muy fuerte en esa zona, y ella lo que recuerda es de haber tocado, que se sentía muy cómoda en un lugar que se llamaba The Living Room, así que en Nueva York fueron sus primeras experiencias en público. And Kate, when did you decide to start a solo music career?
So as I mentioned, I decided I made a mistake becoming a lawyer, and I'd only been practicing a couple of years. And then I thought, no, I need to do something creative, but I didn't know what. And I thought maybe writing. I did a lot of art when I was younger. But as I said, I took this guitar class for fun, and then I started writing, and then I realized, no, that's where I wanted to be creative. And so yeah, that's how it started.
Ok, bueno, le pregunté cuándo empezó su carrera solista de música, y dice que bueno, fue justamente cuando ella estaba terminando la escuela, la universidad, y dice que la abogacía, el derecho no era lo que ella exactamente quería, y cuando agarró la guitarra decidió que esa era una parte creativa muy importante para ella, y bueno, y ahí fue cuando decidió, escribir sus propias canciones y empezar con una carrera. You released your first album in 2017, Carve Me Out. How was the recording process, and why you put that name?
Well, so that was a very long recording process, because at that point I had moved to England. I married an Englishman, so we live in England. I had 2 kids. So the whole music career sort of took a bit of a back burner at that point. Then I was sort of back to writing songs, but it was kind of quite a slow process. So some of the songs actually, we did home demos for all of the songs, and then some of the songs got recorded in New York. Some of the songs got recorded at a friend's studio here in England, and then some of the songs got sort of redone with another studio in London. So it was really, I would say, about a 5-year process, and a lot of sending tracks back and forth. Like, we had a wonderful dobro player in Spain who sent some tracks, and then we had this wonderful player Weisenburn guitar in Ireland who did some tracks, and that, you know, so it was an interesting process of over a long period of time and lots of layers. Yeah, but that's just how it worked out. But I was pleased with it in the end, yeah.
Wow. Bueno, le pregunté por el proceso de grabación de su primer disco, que se llama Carry Me Out, que es del 2017, y ella dice que bueno, estaba viviendo en Nueva York y se casó con una persona del Reino Unido, se fueron a vivir a Londres, y en el proceso de la mudanza y de tener 2 hijos era cuando ya estaba decidiendo cuáles eran las canciones que iba a grabar para Carry Me Out, y fue una experiencia bastante larga que tomó como unos 5 años, en donde bueno, ella tuvo hijos, se mudó, se casó y aparte compartió, digamos, la experiencia de mandar las canciones, por ejemplo, para algunas que sean grabadas y seteadas en Nueva York, otras en Londres, y aparte con músicos de Irlanda y de España, así que fue un proceso bastante largo, pero bueno, que lo disfrutó porque se conectó con un montón de gente. And why you put that name, Carry Me Out?
Yeah, I forgot to answer that, but so my mother died a couple of years before the album came out, and it really threw me for a while, and the song Carve Me Out is one of the songs on that album, and it was a song I wrote literally the morning after she passed away, and it was one of those songs that just comes right out, like whole, and it helped me a lot. But I also think that whole period of time before the album was very much shaped by that period of time. So it just felt like the right song to be the title track.
Bueno, le pregunté por el nombre del disco Carry Me Out y dice que bueno, un par de días antes de que salga el disco, la madre falleció y que todo el proceso, el proceso final del disco fue atravesado por esa experiencia, y dice que bueno, justamente esa canción Carry Me Out se refiere a ese momento, y dice que decidió que era bueno tenerlo como nombre del disco también. In February of 2022, you released your last album, Spirals. It was different, the process of recording, and why you put that name?
So name is, again, the title track for this album was the song Spirals, but we thought the theme of Spirals was very appropriate for most of the songs on the album, and it was just felt like it was right. And it's sort of about getting lost in the maze of your thinking and your mind and your feelings and stories that you tell yourself about yourself, and sort of finding your way through that and finding your way out of that to more of a piece. And so it just felt like it was a good theme for the album. But the recording process was totally different than the first one, because we found this wonderful producer, John Reynolds, who did Sinead O'Connor's stuff and Indigo Girls. He's an amazing producer. And we'd gotten about 2/3 through, and then the pandemic hit. And so everyone back to their homes, you know, and so there was obviously a bit of a break, but then when we were allowed to come back in, you know, sessions, you know, socially distanced sessions, we finished it up, and so it was fine. But it was a wonderful experience, because he really connected emotionally to the music, and that's the most important thing for me. And so it was like a partnership with getting to the emotional truth of each track, however that was needed to happen musically. And so yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Wow. Bueno, le pregunté por su último disco del 2022, que se llama Spirals, cómo fue grabado y por qué le puso ese nombre. Spirals es porque las letras del disco hablan sobre justamente, es como que se siente que hay una espiral en los temas que van tocando, de los sentimientos y de cómo uno va hablando sobre esos sentimientos. O sea que es una espiral, uno siente una cosa digamos, la saca para afuera y después eso es como que se va realimentando y bueno, eso forma espirales de emociones. Y el proceso de grabación dice que fue muy lindo, fue completamente diferente, fue más con una producción completamente diferente, fue directamente grabado y producido también por una persona que se llama John Reynolds, que por ejemplo es el productor de Indigo Girls y Sinéad O'Connor, por ejemplo, y que lo que a ella le pareció muy bueno es que John Reynolds se contactó con las emociones de cada canción y eso le pareció muy bueno para poder expresar las canciones verdaderamente lo que ella sentía. And why you choose John Reynolds to make the album?
Well, it was a friend actually who had recorded with him. Nikki Layton Thomas was a wonderful jazz singer, and actually someone else also recommended him for us. It was kind of meant to be, I think. And but he, as I said, he's a real artist in how he produces, because he very much does it himself. Like he's connecting to the song at a very deep level, and then sort of builds it up gradually. But he's always making sure that it's in service of the song. And so that's why I think he was just such a great choice. And I mean, I love the Indigo Girls, and I love Sinead O'Connor, and I love the sound that he created. He's also a wonderful drummer, so he did all the drumming as well on the tracks. Yeah.
Wow, that is another spiral. The emotions and working for the song. It's another spiral. I think that.
I agree. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bueno, le pregunté por qué decidió trabajar con John Reynolds y ella me dijo que hay un músico que tenían en común, un amigo de ella que se llama Nicky, que es un músico de jazz también, que con el que ya grabó. Tuvo la oportunidad de trabajar con John Reynolds también y le recomendó, y lo que ella sigue diciendo que John Reynolds es una persona que se pone muy en contacto con las emociones de la canción y eso le sirvió un montón. Aparte, John Reynolds es baterista y grabó todas las baterías del disco, y que mayormente también lo que le decía recién en español, que es una espiral, o sea, es una persona que le sirve para traducir las emociones y aparte trabaja mucho para que las canciones funcionen. Manu, ¿tenés alguna pregunta?
Pablo, sí le gustaría volver a trabajar con Reynolds.
Manu wants to know. Manu is in Argentina now. I'm living in Barcelona. We are both Argentinian guys. And Manu wants to know if you would like to work again with John Reynolds.
Oh, I would love to. Yes, he's very, very sought after as a producer. So I hope I get the chance. Yeah.
Okay. Bueno, dice que sí, Manu, que es un productor que le encantó. Sí.
Un productor que
¿Cómo?
No, que sentirse cómodo ya, como que encontrás el plantel, ¿viste? Ya sabes el equipo con el que querés jugar, eso está buenísimo.
Sí, eso es lo que le iba a preguntar ahora. Kate, how do you choose the musicians that you're going to play with?
Well, with actually with both albums, the producer put us in touch with. Well, the second album, John did the drumming. In my first album, like one of the producers, David Gould, did a lot of the guitar work and some of the bass. So sometimes the producers came in and did their instruments. Sometimes they have people they worked with, like John Reynolds always worked with Claire Kenny, does bass for all of Sinead's stuff, and so I mean they were a wonderful rhythm section already, and then we had musicians that we loved to play with, like Chris Hillman did dobro on a bunch of tracks, and some pedal steel, and Joseph Paxton is a fiddle player that we play with all the time, and he was on it as well. And the other John always uses this woman who's this most amazing backing singer, Pauline Scanlon from Ireland. So she came from Ireland and did the backing vocals, which were just gorgeous on this album. So yeah, we're very, very blessed to have loads of different talented musicians coming from all over and joining. Yeah.
And then you became friends of that musicians or not?
Yes, well, we see some of them, the ones that are more local, we do see and play with whenever we can. Yeah.
Wow.
Tom.
Bueno, le estaba preguntando por los músicos, cómo ella decidía tocar con determinados músicos, y lo que nos estaba contando que hay productores que, por ejemplo, ellos tocan sus instrumentos, y hay productores aparte que de tocar sus instrumentos que te van recomendando otros músicos, y así es como que se va formando un grupo de trabajo importante. Bueno, nos nombró un montón de músicos, Clark Kay, Chris, Nathan o algo así, y hay músicos, por ejemplo, que usan el pedal steel o la guitarra con diferentes de diferentes maneras. Tiene muchas cosas country ella en las canciones, y que finalmente también se terminan haciendo amigos de esos músicos. Kate, do you usually go to another shows to watch music live?
Yeah, we do when we can. Yeah.
Which kind of music?
Well, I love Americana sort of music. Like Green Note is a wonderful venue in London that always has great musicians playing. The Wood Brothers were playing the other night, which was amazing. And yeah, I mean, just, I guess the Americana UK Festival just happened about a month ago. And that James Nisbell played, which was pretty great. And a bunch of other wonderful performances, yeah.
Bueno, le pregunté si ella era de ir a recitales generalmente, y me dice que sí, que va ocasionalmente a recitales. Ella es bastante fanática de americana, de la música americana, esta que está llena de guitarras, y por ejemplo nos nombraba que el festival de música americana de UK fue hace un par de semanas, y ella estuvo, aparte de ir a venues, a lugares más locales, que ella va dando vueltas por ahí bastante seguido. And can you tell us, what do you think about the actual music scene in the UK?
Well, I did find it easier in New York, only because New York is a much smaller music community, or at least the community I was part of. Yeah, so the downtown East Village, you could kind of know where everything was and who everyone was, and it was very friendly. And I think London is so big that it's harder to know where everything is. It's harder to get your head around it. And also, since the pandemic, I think, a lot of these venues have been struggling to stay open, and to get people to come out and leave their homes, But no, there's a really interesting little Americana music scene in the UK, and it's definitely growing. I mean, there's more interest in country and Americana here than there has ever been before. I mean, it's always been in America, but here it's definitely becoming much more popular, and which is great. Yeah.
Of course.
More festival, all of that. Yeah.
Sorry, Careta, you really surprised me that you say that New York is like smaller. Wow. It's a surprise for me. Wow. I thought that New York was really incredible, with a lot of music going on, but it's really different from London.
It's smaller than London. Yeah, London is huge. Yeah, London is very sprawled out, very spread out, and New York is you have these centers, these pockets of music that are very defined. So there's the downtown East Village, there's Brooklyn, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's changed since I've been there, but it just felt much more easy to navigate.
Bueno, sorprendido totalmente, Manu, con lo que nos acaba de decir, que Sí, wow, you surprised us. Wow. Pero nos acaba de decir que en Nueva York es mucho más chico, mucho más pequeño que Londres. Alguien que nacida en Estados Unidos nos dice que Nueva York es mucho más chiquito, mucho más pequeño que Londres, y que como que en Londres hay como burbujas, ¿no? Está Brooklyn, está el East Village y está como todo mucho más marcado. En vez Londres es mucho más grande y hay un montón de música esparcida, digamos, por todos lados. Por eso ella sentía mucho esa diferencia. Y también nos estaba diciendo que en el Reino Unido la escena de música americana, digamos, y de country está creciendo un montón, y que por suerte está creciendo un montón y hay un montón de lugares para tocar, pese a que después de la pandemia hayan cerrado un montón. Kate, we talk with a lot of musicians from Europe, and they say that there is a post-pandemic music. Do you agree with that?
I don't. You mean of the type of music, or do you mean the music community?
Both. Because, for example, young people say, no, my band is post-pandemic. I say, what? It's crazy for me. It's crazy. And what do you think?
Well, that sounds a little bit like a gimmick to me, because I think music is always changing and always developing, and I don't think there is anything actually that means you're post-pandemic, except that you are literally playing music after the pandemic, so then you are post-pandemic. But apart from that, I don't know what that means. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, I think people are always trying to create new trends and buzz around the trends, and it's one of those things, in my opinion.
Yeah. For me, it's
I think the music scene. For the music scene, I think it is interesting post-pandemic because it was gone for such a long time, and so I think there is a feeling of the preciousness of going out and seeing music live, and also how hard it is for musicians to make a living doing that. And so it's a bit of like, it's very hard economically everywhere, and especially for artists who are trying to survive on their music. But I think there's this sort of a desire to support musicians more than ever, because I think we all felt the loss of having that connection in person when we did. Yeah.
Connection in the shows. Hey, let's get a beer and listen to some music. Perfect. Yeah, I agree. Tremendo, me encantó lo que dijo Manu a todos estos que dicen que hacen música post-pandémica. Muy bueno. Porque, bueno, le estaba preguntando, yo fue una pregunta personal, porque hay muchos grupos que ya nos están diciendo, nosotros hacemos música post-pandémica, y lo que Kate nos estaba diciendo, que la música está cambiando todo el tiempo. Music is changing every time, y que no hay necesariamente un género de música post-pandémica, pese a que la gente trata de generar tendencias, pero sí es verdad que hubo como una falta muy grande de juntarse, o sea, de ir a shows y tomarse una cerveza con alguien en un show. Y también es muy importante todo lo que sucedió después con la economía de los grupos, de los artistas, que estuvieron en un pozo durante la pandemia y ahora están empezando a salir, y ella a nivel personal y artístico trata de apoyar a los artistas que están con un montón de dificultades después de la pandemia. Así que genial lo que nos acaba de decir, a mí me gustó. Manu, ¿alguna otra pregunta?
No, mandale, seguilo.
We like what we are listening, Kate. Thanks for that. And Kate, can you tell us what do you think about social medias and streaming services?
Well, that's a big question. I mean, I think there's pros and cons, right? There's pros in that music is so accessible now and can travel all over the world, and you can find fans everywhere, and all of that is wonderful. And I suppose, and the cons are, well, we are sort of lost among a sea of billions and billions of streams and artists, and it's very hard to exist and be known as an artist now. But then there's more opportunity. So it's, you know, it's a little bit of good and bad. I mean, not to get into the whole economics of what streaming has done for artists' income, because it is essentially impossible to make a living unless you're very, very high up in music, unless you tour all the time, or you know, teach, or you do whatever. You know, it's unfortunate that the economics is now such that it is very, very hard for musicians and songwriters. But you've got the opportunity of being able to create music yourself and self-release it, and you don't need a label. So, you know, it's a good and bad in both. And I mean, in terms of social media, it's not just with music. I mean, it's with our lives. You know, it's wonderful, but it also takes up an enormous amount of time, and it's not something, I mean, personally, me, I don't like that side of it. I don't want to be promoting myself at all, because I just don't enjoy it, you know, whereas I think some people maybe do enjoy it, but it definitely means you have to get into that mindset of promotion much more than maybe you would like to.
Exactly. Less time for being creative, I think. You're always in the social media.
And it's not the same skills, you know.
Perfect. Exactly. Totalmente. Bueno, le preguntaba, eso también es otra, podemos anotarla como pregunta, Manu, para las próximas, pero bueno, le preguntaba por los servicios de streaming y las redes sociales, y lo que nos estaba diciendo, por ejemplo, de los servicios de streaming, que tiene pros y contra. El pro es que es súper accesible, tenés un mar de bandas, de todo para escuchar al alcance de la mano. Bueno, y el contra es justamente eso, que también hay un mar de cosas que te tiran encima, y es difícil encontrar quizás cosas que te gustan, y aparte de eso, que tenés oportunidad de mostrarte, pero es muy difícil también visualizarte. Y en el aspecto económico dice, bueno, que es muy difícil, por ejemplo, vivir de los servicios de streaming, salvo que tengas muchísimos seguidores y muchas excusas. Y con respecto a lo de las social medias, lo que estaba diciendo que es un tema a nivel personal ya directamente, que te lleva muchísimo tiempo, y aparte lo que estaba diciendo, que sí es muy interesante, que hay artistas que les gusta promocionarse en las redes sociales, pero aparte de quitarte tiempo para la creatividad, para ser creativo con tu instrumento, dice que son otras habilidades, o sea, completamente diferentes, que por ejemplo a ella no le gusta el proceso de estar haciendo publicidad de ella misma. Dice que son habilidades completamente diferentes, que ella no toca. Perfecto. Kate, what are your future plans with music?
Well, I'm working on some new songs, so I tend to take my time. I take a lot of time getting them right, doing my home demos and stuff. But I'm also doing a bunch of gigs. So I do some gigs on my own or with my partner Andy, and we play together and sometimes add more musicians. I also do something called the ARC Songwriters, which stands for Acoustic Roots Country Songwriters, and it's with me and two other female artists, My Girl the River and Anna Howie. And we do an evening where we trade songs and we sing on each other's songs and we tell the stories, and it's really fun. It's a different thing, and I really enjoy it because I love their music and I love singing with other people. You know, not even singing the lead, like singing backing with other people and stuff. So that's fun, and we've got a few of those gigs coming up, a few festivals.
Nice. Bueno, le pregunté por los planes futuros, y lo que nos estaba diciendo, bueno, que ella ya está armando nuevas canciones, está haciendo demos en su casa, y también tiene un par de shows, y nos contó algo muy interesante de ARC, que es, bueno, artistas y compositores de música country o de música americana, en donde se mezclan van mezclando, o sea, ella por ejemplo es todo acústico, y van con guitarras o con diferentes tipos de músicos y tocan y cantan y aparte cuentan historias y se van contando historias unos a otros y aparte los músicos se van intercambiando y ella por ejemplo le hace coros a otros músicos, que le parece algo bastante divertido y una manera de relacionarse interesante con otros músicos. Manu,
Raúl,
sí.
Me gustaría, lo que habíamos dicho un poco en la apertura sobre si sigue siendo una figura enorme para ellos la de Hank Williams o quedó un poco en el olvido. Sí. Esa es la pregunta.
Sí. We've been talking a lot about country music because I love country music, and Manu wants to know if Hank Williams is really important or maybe not.
Well, I think he's very, very important to country music. I think he was one of the first, sort of masters of country music. But I mean, personally, I like him a lot. I mean, I don't he's not where I say my first love was Bob Dylan. So I'm more in that sort of genre. But actually, I have a funny story about Hank Williams, which is that, my father, when he was very young and growing up in Shreveport, Louisiana, went on stage with Hank Williams and played guitar. Now he was a student. He was taking guitar lessons with Hank Williams, bass player. And so, and I don't know if you know the story about Hank Williams, but he, was on the Louisiana Hayride in Shreveport. That was one of his first venues. And so he would come to Shreveport. And so my dad, as a little boy, was on stage with him playing guitar.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Pero Manu, fíjate que dice, pero me gusta Bob Dylan más. But you're saying that you love Bob Dylan.
Yeah, I do.
And Kate, how about Woody Guthrie?
Oh yes, I love Woody Guthrie. Yeah.
It's really big in the American culture or not?
Well, he's considered again the sort of the beginning of, in a way, I mean, in a way, the beginning of Americana, because he really combined folk and country, didn't he? And storytelling, and so I don't know if he's very popular now, but he's revered as one of the first great folk Americana singer-songwriters, and he, I mean, Bob Dylan really came from him, and he will say that, so, yeah.
Sí, por eso era la pregunta. Excelente.
Acabamos de hacer un repaso por la historia en 2 segundos. We make a 5 minutes history. It's incredible. Wow. Bueno, le estaba preguntando Manu por Hank Williams y bueno, Kate nos estaba contando que el padre tuvo la posibilidad de tocar con él en Luisiana. Después le preguntamos por Woody Guthrie si era importante y dice que sí, es realmente muy importante y dice que es como el padre.
No te gusta Bob.
¿Cómo?
Dale que no te gusta Bob Dylan.
Sorry.
Eso es un cuadrado.
No sea malo, mano. This is personal, sí, Kate. Because we have a fight with Manu because I don't like Bob Dylan. Sorry.
You don't like Bob Dylan? Oh my God.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks.
Well, I know a lot of people love him or hate him. It's true. I love him. So yeah.
Thanks. Gracias, Manu, por quemarme. Manu, burn me out. Completely burn me out.
Okay.
Okay. We are going to make the last question, Kate. Really, thanks for your time, for your support. It's incredible to talk with you. Just to finish the interview, we are going to listen to Can't Not. Can you tell us something about that particular song?
So that song, well, it's a love song, and it's about, when the relationship is over, but the love is not over, and you can't make it go away. It's just there, and I guess I got into the idea of well, what are those things that are sort of impossible that we can't do? What are other things that we can't do? And then sort of writing the song around all these things that we can't do, we have to accept. And, you know, I can't not love you, because that's just there. It's still there. And so, yeah, it was a fun song to write and record, because we had some wonderful musicians on that when we did it with John Reynolds. And it has a very cool sort of lazy Americana country vibe, which I like. Kind of dirty vibe.
Manu, si te parece, cerramos acá. Tremendo. Sí.
Cerramos acá,
It was
espectacular.
really great to talk with you. Thank you very much, Kate, and we keep in touch, okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great talking. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dark skies, the crow flies, never too far away. The lights gone and the wrong song playing over again. I can't make the wild winds blow, I can't make the seasons slow, all the tides I just can't undo. And I can't not love you. I try to forget you, let live and lie low, but I hear you and I taste you everywhere that I go. I can't travel back in time, can't turn water into wine. I can lie, but I can't make it true. And I can't not love you. So you never see my eyes, tell me that you never break down and cry. Show me when you found a way to put all this away. Call it a day. You tell me you're happy, and I could be happy too.